Turning 62 feels like a milestone. For many Americans, it represents freedom, the option to stop working, the option to finally slow down, the option to step away from schedules, deadlines, and constant pressure. For decades, retirement has felt distant, and suddenly it feels real. For the first time, turning 62 also gives you access to Social Security benefits. That moment feels important. It feels earned. But this is also where one of the most expensive retirement mistakes begins. The biggest mistake people make at 62 is treating Social Security as something you should take as soon as it becomes available. Not because they truly need it. Not because they've carefully thought it through. Not because it fits into a long-term plan, but simply because it's there. At 62, you are allowed to claim Social Security early. What many people don't fully understand is that claiming early permanently reduces your benefit. Permanent means for life. This is not a temporary reduction. It does not correct itself later. It does not improve when you get older. If your full retirement age is 67, claiming Social Security at 62 reduces your monthly benefit by roughly 30%. That reduction follows you everywhere. It follows you into your 70s. It follows you into your 80s. And for many people, it follows them even longer. That smaller check becomes the foundation for the rest of your retirement. This is where regret usually begins. In the early years of retirement, claiming at 62 often feels fine. You receive checks sooner. You feel like you're getting value. You feel like you made the right decision. Life continues, and nothing seems wrong. But regret doesn't show up early. It shows up later. It shows up when healthcare costs increase, when prescriptions become more expensive, when insurance premiums rise year after year. It shows up when savings don't stretch as far as expected, when market returns are uneven, when inflation quietly raises everyday costs. And it shows up when you realize something most people underestimate. Retirement lasts much longer than planned. That's when the size of the monthly check matters most. Over 15 years of working with retirees, I've watched this pattern repeat itself more times than I can count. Someone claims at 62. They feel confident. They feel relieved. They tell themselves they made the smart choice. Then 5 years pass. Then 10 years pass. And the conversation changes completely. They start talking about what they wish they had known, what they wish someone had explained more clearly, what they would do differently if they could go back. The problem is not that they claimed early. The problem is that they claimed early without understanding what they were giving up. Because here's what happens in real numbers. Let's say your full retirement age benefit is $2,000 per month. If you claim at 62, that benefit drops to around $1,400 per month. That's a $600 difference every single month. Over 1 year, that's $7,200. Over 10 years, that's $72,000. Over 20 years, that's $144,000. And remember, Social Security includes cost of living adjustments. Those adjustments are applied to your benefit amount. A smaller benefit means smaller adjustments. A larger benefit compounds those increases over time. This is not abstract math. This is real money that affects real lives. I've sat across from people in their late 70s who are struggling with expenses they didn't anticipate. Medical bills, home repairs, rising property taxes, the cost of long-term care. And when we look at their income, the conversation always comes back to the same question. What if you had waited? What if you had delayed Social Security until full retirement age, or even until 70? How different would your situation be today? The answer is usually painful. Now, to be clear, claiming Social Security at 62 is not always wrong. For some people, it is the right decision. If your health is poor, if you have a limited life expectancy, if you genuinely need the income immediately to cover basic living expenses. In those situations, early claiming can make sense, but the mistake is assuming that 62 should be the default choice. It shouldn't. Social Security is not a bonus. It is not extra money. It is not a reward for stopping work. Social Security is a foundation of lifetime income, and the age you choose to claim it locks that foundation in place. Many people confuse retiring from work with claiming Social Security. These are two separate decisions. You can stop working without claiming benefits. You can retire from your job and delay Social Security. You can use savings. You can use part-time income. You can use other resources in the meantime. But once you claim Social Security, you have made a permanent choice. There is no reset button. Another major mistake people make at 62 is underestimating how long they will live. Longevity is improving. Many Americans will live well into their 80s, and a growing number will live beyond that. That turns Social Security into a 30-year income stream, or longer. When benefits last that long, small monthly differences add up to very large totals. A smaller benefit paid for decades can quietly become a serious problem. Inflation makes this even more important. Social Security benefits adjust for inflation, but those adjustments are based on your benefit amount. A smaller benefit stays smaller, even after cost of living increases. A larger benefit receives larger adjustments over time and provides more protection later in life. This is why many people say something very specific. They don't regret retiring early. They regret claiming early. Those regrets don't usually appear at 63 or 64. They appear much later, at 75, at 80. There's another dimension to this decision that rarely gets discussed: the psychological weight of a smaller benefit. In the early years, when you're healthy and active, that reduced benefit might feel manageable. You adjust your spending. You make it work. But as you age, your financial flexibility shrinks. Your ability to earn additional income decreases. Your energy changes. Your health may change. Your options become more limited. And that's when the size of your guaranteed monthly income becomes everything. Social Security is the one part of your retirement income that you cannot outlive. It arrives every month, regardless of what happens in the stock market, regardless of what happens to your savings, regardless of what happens in the economy. That permanence is valuable. And claiming early trades long-term security for short-term access. I've also seen people claim at 62 because they're worried Social Security will run out of money. This fear is understandable, but it's misplaced. Social Security is not going bankrupt. The program faces funding challenges, but even in the worst-case scenarios, benefits would be reduced, not eliminated. And those potential reductions would affect everyone, regardless of when they claimed. Claiming early out of fear doesn't protect you. It just guarantees a smaller benefit now. So how should you think about this decision? Not emotionally, not based on fear, and not based on what others are doing. Think about it strategically. Ask yourself, do I need this income right now? What other income sources do I have? How long do I realistically expect to live? How important is flexibility later in retirement? Social Security is insurance against longevity. The longer you live, the more valuable it becomes, and the later you claim, up to age 70, the stronger that insurance becomes. Delaying from 62 to full retirement age increases your benefit by roughly 30%. Delaying from full retirement age to 70 increases it by another 24%. Those increases are guaranteed. They are permanent. And they compound with every cost of living adjustment for the rest of your life. This decision deserves patience, because in retirement, the choices you make once often matter for the rest of your life. The people who navigate this decision well are those who treat it like what it truly is. Not a transaction, not a withdrawal, but a long-term allocation of one of the most important income sources they will ever have. If you're approaching 62, take time to run the numbers. Consider your health. Consider your other income sources. Consider how long your parents and grandparents lived. And if delaying is possible, even by a few years, recognize what you're gaining in exchange. You're gaining security. You're gaining protection against inflation. You're gaining peace of mind. And most importantly, you're gaining the knowledge that when you're 75 or 80 or 85, you won't be looking back wishing you had made a different choice, because that regret is one of the hardest feelings to carry in retirement.